Thailand, and Vietnam on their current efforts to reduce specific sources of air pollution. And we are very fortunate to be joined by an esteemed group of experts. And I'd like to introduce them now. We have Ms. Shazia Rafi, who's the president and convener of Air Quality Asia. Shazia was also the former Secretary General of the Parliamentarians for Global Action. We also have with us Dr. Supat Wangwangwatana from Thailand Environment Institute. Of course, Dr. Supat was, as many of you may know, was the former Director General at the Pollution Control Department of Thailand. And then finally, we have Ms. Do Van Nguyet, founder and director of Live and Learn for Environment and Community in Vietnam. Before we begin, let me just move on to the next slide. We just have a few reminders to share with you. The link to the presentations have been sent via email, but you can also access them through that link in the screen. This webinar is also being recorded so that we can share it with the other colleagues that are not able to join us this afternoon. And in case you have questions, just type them in the Zoom chat box. There's an opportunity to post questions to our speakers after the presentations. And finally, if you are interested to join our future activities or events, just please send us a message at apcap@un.org. I won't prolong this introduction any further. I'd now like to turn it over to Shazia, who will be sharing with us experiences in Pakistan and also in South Asia. Shazia, over to you.
So good morning from yet a still dark New York, but also good evening and good afternoon to all of you. Dorota, are you ready with the slides?
Yes.
Excellent. I'm joined with my colleague Dorota from Poland. So we are really in a very brave new world. So dear colleagues from UNEP, GAHP, experts from Vietnam, Thailand, and around the Asia region, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good evening and greetings from New York on behalf of Air Quality Asia. Air Quality Asia is an international parliamentary advocacy group working with high-level policymakers to implement the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals 2030 and the Paris Agreement by helping governments across Asia implement these policies and these agreements through their energy and their environment policies. We work with parliamentarians in specific countries to strengthen national environment and energy policy. We are currently witnessing an unprecedented time in its series of global challenges, from climate change to COVID-19 pandemic. Over 1.5 million lives and increasing numbers as we count have been lost. As tragic as this current outbreak and pandemic is, there is another silent killer that continues to claim lives daily around the world, and that is air pollution. According to the World Health Organization, air pollution kills 7 million people every year. Now, this 7 million figure is a 2015 baseline. So we are already 5 years out from that. And given the projection, I am certain that it is over 10 million by now. There is now evidence that COVID-19 pandemic mortality is also worsened because of air pollution. Scientists have suggested that air pollution particles may be acting as vehicles for viral transmission, not to mention the fact that our lungs are already under stress due to air pollution if we live in Asia. So allow me to take you a little bit back, because it's important to know where we came from in trying to get to a clean air globe. I want to share the role parliamentarians played in the global agreements on clean air and how AQA, Air Quality Asia, works with its key partners in Asia to strengthen this global framework. Air pollution is an accelerator of climate change as well. The same carbon emissions that speed up global warming make air quality worse. Air quality monitoring allows policymakers and international agencies a real-time progress measure. So climate change is hard to measure, whereas air quality you can literally monitor in real time. So it's like having your finger on the pulse of the earth. AQA was established in November 2016 to implement the Clean Air UN SDGs 2030. AQA convenes parliamentarians, government officials, UN and development agencies, green finance institutions, and civil society to that end. The right to clean air as a human right was proposed at the Interparliamentary Union meeting, November 2013, by the Parliamentary Working Group on Clean Air. Actually, it was formally introduced by the chairman of the Senate of Pakistan. Clean air language was negotiated in SDGs 2030 by September 2015 with strong targets and signed by all governments. So this particular goal itself brought into it the aspirations of constituents around the world through their elected representatives. The 3 Clean Air SDGs 2030 targets, as you can see, are specific. They lay out the sources of air pollution and the implementation responsibility to be taken by governments. They also pull in the UN agencies, UNEP, WHO, and Habitat, which have monitoring and technical assistance responsibilities, and development agencies like the World Bank and the Asian Development Bank, which are affiliated agencies to the UN to help governments fund this implementation. So this is the global framework under which we are trying to get to cleaner air. The challenge really globally, ground zero of air pollution is South Asia, which is where I'm from. I'm from the city of Lahore, which trades places with Delhi as sometimes the most polluted air in the world. As you can see, the challenge for South Asian governments is enormous. Of the world's cities with the highest air pollution, 18 to 19 out of the 20 are in South Asia. 13 to 14 are in India, 3 to 4 are in Pakistan, and then Dhaka, Kathmandu, and you've got basically the top contenders. This has an enormous negative impact on morbidity in these countries. In addition to the majority of deaths from respiratory illnesses, asthma, COPD, it's almost 53%. Air pollution also causes 40% of deaths from lung cancer, 25% of stroke deaths, 26% of deaths from heart disease. We also now know that air pollution increases COVID-19 deaths by over 15%. So according to research by experts of the Global Alliance on Health and Pollution, GAHP, these air pollution deaths, when you look at the data and connect it to income, they almost have like a bell curve. They rise as countries move from low income to lower middle income and upper middle income, and drop as they reach higher income. Now, why is that? Because as countries industrialize and rapidly grow their economies, our means of generating energy and means of production remain polluting. We're using dirty fuel, coal, and other fossil fuels, while higher income countries have had traditionally more access to resources and technology solutions that are green and clean. That differential, though, is now changing as green energy, green production technologies are becoming cheaper and more accessible. And these technologies are being developed not just in the so-called developed countries. South Asia, for example, produces over 1.5 million engineers annually, the bulk of them in India. But Pakistan produces over 20,000 engineers every year. And many of these global advances are the result of these scientists' work, sometimes as emigrated to developed countries. The key hurdle for policymakers is how will countries pay for the transition to a clean air economy? Part of that answer lies in transitioning the current cost of air pollution to the economy. As you see from the World Bank 2016 report, Pakistan's air pollution had a 5.8% negative GDP impact. Again, the base year for that report, it seems the base year for every report is 2015 because of the SDGs. Later reports show a higher percentage, over 6%, as air pollution levels increased. Neighboring India with higher industrialization levels had a 7.8% negative GDP impact, rising to over 8% in recent years. Globally, the negative impact in that same 2016 report was about $5.3 trillion. Now, these same funds can be applied for socioeconomic development, for clean air solutions. So often you hear, oh, it took the developed countries decades. You know, the United States, it took them decades to go from very polluted air. New York, as you can see from the start of my presentation, you have two photos. One shows New York, you can't see the tops of buildings in the 70s, and then later we see a clean air New York. But what COVID-19 has shown us is that with the lockdown, air pollution had dropped dramatically across the globe. In Lahore and in Delhi, blue skies had returned. Nature restores itself if man's destructive activity can be curtailed. But of course, we can't permanently shut down the economy. And as you can see, if policies are not changed, pollution returns. So we must and can build back better. We know from data from California, Europe, Mexico, Chile, China, that air quality improvements work. South Asian countries, including Pakistan, are already on that path with national clean air plans that have been revamped and with more budgets assigned. Their provincial and city governments are also following up with state level plans. But along with these plans, there must be monitoring, targets, timelines, alternative solutions to crop burning, transition to renewable energy, emission standards for power plants, industry. Transport should move to clean air, zero emission transport. So today I've been asked to discuss air pollution in Pakistan with particular reference to solutions being applied on crop burning. Before I turn to that, I would like to lay the context in which the country is situated physically. Pakistan's heavily affected by transboundary air pollution across the Indo-Gangetic Plain, as the bulk of its population lies north to south within 20 miles of its border with India. And India is a large, rapidly industrializing, growing economy with its resulting higher levels of air pollution. The Indo-Gangetic Plain is also one environmental region while divided into two countries. Pre-partition Punjab, which is where the bulk of the crop burning takes place, includes three states: Punjab, Pakistan, Punjab, India, and parts of Haryana. This is the agricultural heartland of both countries, and it was used to and still is the breadbasket of the entire Indo-Gangetic Plain. Much of the agricultural holdings in Punjab on both sides are by small farmers, 3-acre farms, some medium-sized farms up to 25 acres. The work of removing the stubble left behind by the rice crop and sowing the next season's wheat crop is done by family members and seasonal workers. The easiest, fastest, and cheapest way for the farmer is to light a match and burn the rice stubble. This brings a blanket of smoke October through November from Delhi to Lahore and vice versa, depending on which way the wind is going. And you can see from this slide that this year in November, which is when this slide was taken, was a very heavy crop burning year. And so the whole index on air quality went into the hazardous range. Crop burning has been practiced for decades, as farmers have only maximum 21 days to remove the rice stubble and plant the wheat. It has become a major health hazard over the recent period as rates of industrialization, without any strict emissions regulations enforcement, urbanization with transportation using low quality fuel, continued reliance on thermal energy, have raised the daily air pollution floor levels to an unhealthy range. So the air is already unhealthy to very unhealthy. And then these 2-3 months of crop burning raises that already unhealthy air to hazardous. Several solutions have been tried by local governments, starting mostly with the punitive, right? Raising the rates of penalties on farmers caught burning. These are very hard to enforce, as farmers then resort to setting the fields on fire at night. More promising are mechanical alternatives to removing the stubble and planting the wheat using 2 sets of machines. This project is called the Happy Seeder. However, this happy seeder doesn't always mean happy farmers. The issue faced here is cost and time. Happy seeder is expensive to rent. In Punjab, India, the government offered farmers a 50% subsidy, but there were few takers. Even 50% was higher, actually, than the penalty. In Pakistan, the Ministry of Climate Change is offering an 80% subsidy in a pilot project using 500 machines. This is just being launched a few weeks ago. The minister himself presented the project on television, explaining its benefits, explaining how it worked, and including driving a happy seeder himself to show, its efficacy. A byproduct of this Happy Seeder project is that the crop residue can be converted into pellets, which can then be used as organic fertilizer or can be converted to biofuel. One such project is run by an enterprising Punjabi. It's called A2P, Agriculture to Power, and it is converting the pellets into what he calls green coal. It's at a small scale. It's a pilot which has just been completed in Patiala, Punjab on the Indian side. It's shown positive results. The project is expanding. If the pilot in Pakistan goes well and farmers take to it, I think there are plans to at least use the pellets as fertilizer and maybe also as biofuel. So this is something that is, good, is in a pilot phase, and hopefully it succeeds and will add to the fuel repository in the country as well. However, these mechanization projects are viewed at best with suspicion by farmers because they change the dynamics of power from those who own and work the land to those who would harvest and benefit from their produce. So it's, small family farms which see this as a kind of mechanization of agriculture, a taking away of their traditional lifestyle, a taking away of their authority and power over their own land. A key fear of the farmer on a practical level is the price at which their produce would be acquired and whether the government would guarantee a fair price by law. So in the last days, we've seen these sustained and huge protests, mostly in Delhi by farmers against a farm bill that the federal government put in, which includes stringent anti-crop burning penalties with a push for mechanized alternatives. In Pakistan, they're taking a more, we have to convince the farmer approach. And I think the climate change minister in particular is himself both an environmental engineer, but also, as he said, he has his own agricultural land that on which he is trying to use better ecological methods. So there's a combination of pressure, but not yet penalties under law that are that draconian, but that is sort of coming. So they're doing the carrot first to see what would happen. In addition to, now one thing just to bear in mind from a policymaker's point of view, just as in the European Union, farmers in France have huge subsidies that are protected by law. These people have enormous power because they are voters, and they are also part of the traditional culture of a country that governments are also responsible of preserving. So in addition to crop burning, what are the other solutions to where there are multiple health benefits and where you can have what one might call low-hanging fruit? So in Pakistan, a second more limited project with the resulting immediate health benefits has been converting local brick kilns known as bhattas to an eco-friendly technology called zigzag technology. In Pakistan, environment under the 18th Amendment to the Constitution is, since 2012, is a provincial or state subject. So there is no environment ministry. There are environment ministries in the provinces, and then they do coordinate with the Ministry of Climate Change. So the Punjab Environment Ministry issued a directive recently ordering that all bhattas must convert to this method by December 31st, 2020. I want to give you a little bit more detailed example from one particular district. It's called Khanewal. It's a very rich alluvial area, and it is an agricultural district. And one of my members is from there. I also have family who farm there. So despite the COVID-19 lockdown, EPA inspectors have been very busy across Punjab province in the district of Khanewal, an alluvial agricultural heartland. The local team is led by a passionate environmentalist, engineer Sarfaraz Anjum, who posts regularly his results on social media. Deputy Commissioner, which is the government's representative in that district, Agha Zahir Abbas Shirazi, recently held a meeting with the owners of the Bhatta Association. So all the Bhattas are owned by different local businessmen, and they are part of a commercial association. He held a meeting with them to explain to them the new regulation and also the new technology and what level of assistance the ministry would be giving them. And introduced engineer Anjum, saying that he's going to be enforcing this regulation, and after the deadline, if you have not converted, you will be closed. 77 bhattas in the Khanewal district have now been converted to zigzag eco-friendly technology. They also launched a media campaign in local media on television in the local language, explaining benefits for all bhatta owners and the environment. Of the 7,500 bhattas across Punjab, Pakistan, half have already been converted. So when you drive, you can clearly see which ones are converted, which ones are not. The ones that are not converted are spewing black smoke, and the ones that are converted, you see a kind of a white sort of haze that comes out of them. And this is one where there's immediate results once the conversion takes place. And so it also gives both the environment department as well as the local politician an immediate result. And for the local residents, there's also an immediate result. Now, the big issue on environment pollution are the harder ones. You know, we're not talking today about thermal power and transitioning from that into renewable. That's a very big topic, but one which I think must be mentioned, because otherwise we are just grazing the top if we only talk about crop burning. The greatest impact, in my view, on air pollution related health and morbidity for Pakistan and any other South Asian country would be moving rapidly to zero emissions transportation. Transport pollution is about 43% of urban pollution in Pakistan. The figure is probably a little higher in Delhi, which adds 1,200 new cars per day. This is truly a visceral effect when you look at the results of it. This is a slide from the International Center for Clean Transportation, and it gives you, it's actually the result of a project they did with the Beijing EPD. It's a clear visual of the soot going into the lungs of city dwellers in Pakistan and any other major hub in Asia due to low Euro level fuel. So you can see when you get to Euro 5, Euro 6, especially Euro 6 is not even on there because it's an empty bottle. An electric vehicle would also be an empty bottle. Pakistan's government has recently opened the import of Euro 4 and 5. We were at less than Euro 2. and enacted a new electric vehicle policy in December 2019 for 2 to 3 wheelers and also for trucks. Electric vehicle notification from the Ministry of Industries for car manufacturers is imminent, and also for electric buses. There is resistance to all this. There is resistance from the car manufacturers industry, which has invested a lot in the old internal combustion engine. And so it means that, those are sunk costs. But the key resistance to any of these changes, whether we talk about crop burning, whether we talk about bhattas, whether we talk about transportation, is who will bear that cost of transition? Is it the farmer? Is it the bhatta owner? Is it the government? Is it any combination? So governments must use both tax and subsidy tools along with public campaigns of persuasion for consumers and producers. There's also the issue of whose job it is to get this implementation of goals and standards and laws done. The bulk of the responsibility and the power to implement is with national and state governments working together in coordination with district and city administration. Air has no boundaries, either within nations or across nations. Legislators, federal and state, working with their government officials, are ideally suited to building that implementation framework within the state and interstate. AQA works closely with members of parliament across Asia. Their role is crucial to convince their constituents, their local industry magnates, their small business owners, their farmers, and their even more important role to approve the national and provincial budgets transitioning towards a clean air economy. We at Air Quality Asia, along with our partners in GAHP and in the UN, we are an observer of UNEP, continue to support the right of clean air for us all. Thank you very much, and I look forward to your questions.
Thank you very much, Sazia, and I really appreciate your presentation. I found it very insightful, especially in terms of some of the challenges in governance, I think, with the different regulations that I've put in place. I also very much appreciate that, of course, we recognize the importance of crop burning as an important air pollution source, especially here in our region. But we should not, of course, forget there are many sources of air pollution, which could vary depending on different areas within Asia Pacific. I am a bit wary about the time, so maybe if you have questions for Shazia colleagues, please just type them in the chat box, and then we'll keep track of them, of course. So I'd now like to invite Dr. Supat to share about some of the experiences in terms of addressing agricultural crop burning in Thailand. And I'm sure, I think some of the challenges that Shazia has shared in terms of engagement with the farmers and some of these behavioral related challenges, I think is very much reflected as well in what we'll hear from experience from Thailand. Dr. Supat, over to you.
Thank you, Kay, and good evening, everyone who joined the webinar. Let me share my screen. Can you see the screen?
We can see your desktop at the moment, yes.
not okay. My desktop, right? Let me try again.
Yes.
About now?
Yes, we can see your your screen now.
Good evening again, everyone. My name is Supat Wangwong Wattana. I'm actually working at Thammasat University and also a senior advisor at Thailand Environment Institute, or briefly called TEI. My presentation today will focus on the open burning of agricultural residue issues in Thailand, and also some of the solution being implemented or planned for the future. This is the video clip of burning of rice paddy field after harvesting. And this is normally done in the central part of Thailand. In fact, the one that you see here is very near to my house in the suburban area of Bangkok. Oh, sorry. Let me go back again. So you see a lot of big plume emitted from the burning and contain a lot of particulate matter. Oh, sorry for that. I think I need to move forward. So the content of my presentation will be two parts. The first part will be on the situation of biomass burning, open burning in Thailand. And the second part, I will talk about some of the solutions being implemented and planned for the future, which involve the engagement with farmer groups and government agencies. And this effort is actually being supported by GAHP, the Global Alliance on Health and Pollution, to identify the costs and solution from the farmer and relevant stakeholder, and also to identify what are the challenges. To begin the first part on the situation of biomass open burning in Thailand. Let's see what is going on here. This is the map of Thailand, and on the left side, the risk area of open burning, which was estimated, and in the middle here is the map from the satellite detecting the hotspot on the ground. And you see three colors, black, red, and blue or dark blue. And that actually represent the area where the hotspot are. You will see on the pie chart here, the agricultural area here is about 41% of the open burning. And the open burning of biomass, the rest are in the forest area, both in the conservation forest and the reserve forest. And the fire in the forest area include what we call forest fire, but also some of the fire in the forest area is caused by the illegal practice of agriculture in the forest land, and that is a kind of slash and burn. So this mostly happened in the northern part of Thailand, where we still have a lot of forests. Whereas you see the black area here, most of the agricultural land in the central part of Thailand. And this is the situation actually in 2019, last year. And the hotspot detected in the Mae Khong sub-region, you see a lot of hotspot last year. This is on 11 April 2019. When we go in closer look at in the northern part, 9 provinces in Thailand, we see a lot of hotspot as well. And this is detected by the Weir Terra satellites on 11 April of 2019. And you see the next slide here is the haze generated from those hotspots on March 13, 2019. And this is the figure obtained from the ASEAN Specialized Meteorological Center located in Singapore. And the thick plume actually cover the northern part of Thailand. And this figure also show the 2-month composite AOD, the aerosol optical depth over Thailand from December 2019 to January 2020. This is also the same period of time. And you see it's correspond very well with the previous slide here, that the thick plume is in the northern or in the lower part of the northern part of Thailand. And this is some of the picture taken by the people in the north, the haze covering, and you see a lot of fire on the ground. And these are the agricultural land producing a lot of smoke into the air. And because of the limited dispersion of pollution due to meteorological condition, there are accumulated of particulate matter covering the northern part of Thailand. Almost every year during February, March until May. And you see the detected hotspot here back several years from 2015 to last year in 2020. And most of the fire happened in the northern part of Thailand, actually happening during February and April, as I mentioned earlier. This shows the cumulative number of hotspots, and it go up very sharply during that period of time. And it's corresponding very well with the concentration of PM 2.5 in the northern part of Thailand as well during April to around May, around the beginning of May. And then everything will go down because of the weather change to summer and rainy season. Yeah, this is what happening. And what being burned, what kind of biomass being burned in Thailand? We have burning of solid waste, burning of open dump garbage and open dump, burning of trash and plant residue, burning of agricultural residue. There are 3 kinds of crop that are mostly being burned after harvesting or during and after harvesting. Rice, sugarcane, corn or maize. And there is also forest fire, this slash and burn agriculture in the forest area. And that is actually considered illegal in Thailand. And burning also for wild animal hunting by the people. And also there is a collection of mushroom, the wild mushroom in the forest. And most of the people will start the fire, and then afterward they will collect mushroom and some other plant. There is also land clearing fire along the highway that you see here. Is mostly happen during the dry season. This is the type of biomass burning in Thailand. And this is one of the example, the burning of sugarcane. There are actually pre-burning, pre-harvesting burning, and post-harvesting burning. It's actually burn all the leaf first in order to accommodate cutting of the cane. But again, at the same time, it's produced a lot of PM 2.5 in the air. And you see the red bar here. This is the amount of sugar cane burn, and the line with the green dot show the level of PM 2.5. It go along very well. The PM 2.5 go up when there is more burning of sugar cane in the northeastern part of Thailand. that's the situation on the agricultural residue open burning in Thailand. How about so the second part of my presentation will be on solutions. This is the effort actually supported by, as mentioned, by GAHP to engage with farmer groups and government agency to identify costs of burning and solution, possible solution and challenges. So the project actually engaged three different farmer groups, rice, corn, and sugarcane, and they are mostly in the middle part or the central part of Thailand. So a lot of discussion meeting being held. We also engage with the relevant government agencies in order to discuss about the solution. And this is some of the photo that been taken during the engagement with both the farmer group and also the government agencies. This is the Ministry of Agriculture. Ministry of Agriculture. And I also participate in the discussion as well. And this is the Deputy Director General of the Pollution Control Department, which we also discussed with him on what would be the solution to reduce the burning of biomass or agricultural residue. This is a meeting with the sugarcane and sugar committee, the office, which looking after the production of sugar, the growing of sugarcane. So with the discussion here, we found that this office actually has set a target already that by 2021, there will not be any burning in the sugarcane field anymore. That's the target that they have set. And I will talk about what kind of measures that they are planning to do together with the Ministry of Agriculture. This is one of the sugarcane field. At the end, after we have engaged with the farmer group and the relevant government agency, we also hold a workshop which each group of farmer to discuss about the solution, how what to solve the problem, how to reduce the open burning. And at the end, we bring the two group together, the farmer group and also the government agencies to a stakeholder consultation. And some of the outcome that we have found in the project is the cost of burning, why the farmer burn the agricultural residue. That's cost saving, time saving, and it's actually less labor intensive. It's very easy to burn rather than doing some other thing. As Shasha said, just a match can do the work. And I think the most difficulty is the traditional attitude and practice and belief. Most of the farmers still believe that by burning the agricultural residue, it will actually improve the soil quality. And it has been practiced from generation to generation. So this is what is really happening in the field. How about a solution? We also discussed what should be the solution with the farmer and also with the
Chị
government.
hỏi lại một lần nữa nhé, là trong trường hợp mà
And
bạn
this is some of the
em chuẩn bị cái banh đấy
solution.
xong có thể in ở khách sạn và bạn ấy ký ở đấy có được không, hay là
Maybe may I ask to turn off the microphone, the participants, so that this is one of the solution being practiced.
Đấy, chị đang nghĩ đến trường hợp xấu nhất ấy.
Agricultural group. It is stubble ploughing, rice cultivation. The effort is to integrate rice straw and rice husk into the soil by doing a deep ploughing so that the soil will turn upside down and cover all uh, the rice straw and rice husk, and with the spraying of effective microorganism, it will help digesting the biomass, and we found that the biomass could be digested within about 2 weeks, and 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 that will become an organic fertilizer. For the corn, the cane, sugar cane, uh, this is the left side here showing the map where the sugar industry is located, and you see the green area surrounding those industries. So the sugar industry and sugar cane farmer are actually being very close. They're working together quite closely, and one of the solution that been identified is by using cutting machine. But again, it is very expensive, expensive. So there is development of the Ministry of Agriculture together with the sugar cane and sugar committee to develop a more less expensive machine to actually cut the leaf of the sugar cane, so that the cutting by people can be made easier. The problem of sugarcane leaf is that it is sharp and it can cut your skin. So most of the labor, most of the people do not really want to cut by manually, cut the sugarcane manually. So if we are able to actually eliminate the leaf of the sugar cane, and then doing the cutting later, that is very practical. So machine not so expensive already been developed by the Ministry of Agriculture. And in order to help the farmer, the capital investment for the machine will also be been help assisted by the government. And there will be a setting up of machine sharing center because it's not possible for a single farmer to actually buy a machine. So machine sharing center will be developed by the Ministry of Agriculture so that the farmer can share the machine. And there will be a price incentive for non-burn sugarcane as well. Price incentive mean that the farmer will get more money if the sugarcane are not burned. If sugarcane is burned, when they sell the burned sugarcane to the sugar industry, they will get less. The farmer will get less. That's a kind of market-based incentive in order to encourage the farmer not to burn the sugarcane. The other solution also been implemented by the Ministry of Energy, and that is waste to energy policy with feed-in tariff in order to help the one who is going to set up the utility using biomass as fuel. And this is the picture in the map is the location of plant biomass or agricultural residue fuel for producing electricity around Thailand. And the Ministry of Energy already have set a target of more than 5,000 megawatt of electricity produced from biomass between 2018 to 2037. And the right hand here is one of the rice husk power plant. It's a kind of small power producer, and some of the rice husks also being burned directly or been made into residue-derived fuel before being delivered to the plant. And there are also other use of crop residue for producing organic fertilizer, organic compost, used as the animal fodder and other purpose, soil mulching material in vegetable production. And this is a kind of producing fertilizer, mushroom growing, and so on. And in order to promote the non-burning agricultural practice in Thailand, the Ministry of Agriculture set up a program to educate farmer and also establish non-burning agricultural practice village network. Machinery sharing system that I have mentioned, the campaigns all over Thailand in order to promote non-burning agricultural practice. And at the end, there might be some kind of prohibiting of open burning of agricultural residue. But anyway, if the burning is necessary, there will be a test early next year on the management of prescribed control burning. And this is a kind of system to estimate how much biomass can be burned in an area without producing air pollution problem, taking into account the meteorological condition. So it also will deal with the meteorological forecast and doing a modeling, the pollution dispersion model. This will be tested in the northern part of Thailand in early next year. If burning is necessary, then there will be registration of the farmer who would like to burn. So some of the good practice are around Thailand. The organic fertilizer bank, this is in the middle part of Thailand, and the promotion against burning in farmland. This is in Tak province in the northern part of Thailand. Baling of straw for other use, and also making the fertilizer. These are some of the example. Growing mushroom as well. These are some of the good practices around Thailand, which already been implemented and will be expanded. Some of the challenges that been identified by the farmer and also by the government agency is banning of open burning, whether it is possible or it should be control and management of open burning, a kind of prescribed control burning. The other challenges is machines are expensive, but by using machine sharing center and with the financial assistance from the government, this probably will be possible. It takes a long time for a farmer to change the attitude, behavior, and practices. Government will have to come in and then doing some kind of financing, non-burning technology and practice to help the farmer, because the farmer, most of them do not have the capital investment to do so. And difficulty in collecting and transporting agricultural residue because it's kind of light, bulky, so it's not easy for the collection and transport. But anyway, the Ministry of Natural Resources and Environment this year by the minister is introducing a project for the people to take some of the biomass out of the forest in order to reduce the accumulation of biomass in the forest, to actually reduce the forest fire, taking them out and then use them for other purpose, like for generating power and also for other use. The pollution problem from biomass power generation is become a big issue as well, because all the small power producer, some of them are not equipped with air pollution control equipment. So it actually changed the place of pollution from agricultural land to the power generation or power plant without any control equipment. So that's some of the challenges we found. But anyway, at the end, there will be multiple benefit from open burning reduction. Emission reduction of PM, black carbon, carbon dioxide. So we will obtain air quality benefit, climate benefit as well, if we can use the agriculture residue as fuel to produce power instead of using fossil fuel. Other environment benefit, but definitely we will have health benefits by reducing mortality and reducing morbidity. Thank you very much. This probably end my presentation.
Thank you, Dr.
Okay,
Supat,
back to
for
you.
their interesting. Thank you. Thanks, Dr. Supat, for their interesting presentation. I remember when you mentioned about because when I was in Cambodia, I think the farmers also had similar understanding that burning the field would actually contribute to even better better fertilizers for their crops. So there was some, I think, misunderstanding in that regard. While we are inviting Miss Liat, I think she has already set up her screen. Maybe just one quick question. You're monitoring the chat. There's already a lot of questions there. If I could invite Shazia to provide a very brief response to just 2 questions for now. Are there any improvised techniques practiced in India as stubble burning alternatives? And the second question on whether the investment in controlling biomass burning give higher returns in terms of GDP savings. Shazia? I think you're on mute. Shazia.
Yeah, so regarding the first one on India, the example that I gave of A2P, which is a pilot project just completed in Patiala. You can look them up in I think they have put my presentation to the chat. So you'll be able to get the details of that project there. It is basically buying the rice paddy from the farmers and turning them into pellets, which can be used for generation. The other question on investment in biomass burning. So what has not happened so far in the calculation on GDP has been to break it down by, if we control this source of pollution and pollution goes down by X amount, what will be the GDP savings? And that is something that really institutions like the World Bank, etc., could do, but definitely it would reduce the number of air pollution related deaths in that period between October and December. By a certain percentage, because as I said, the base level, floor level pollution in South Asia is already in the unhealthy, very unhealthy range. And then crop burning takes it into an additional hazardous range. So it's a very small percentage that it bumps up, but it's already in a terrible level. So it would reduce the number of deaths, but how much it would reduce them, what the effect on GDP would be, is something that would still need to be calculated after you have brought down that level of crop burning, because you cannot make that estimate right now. Thank you.
Thank you, Shazia. And colleagues, we understand we are running a little bit behind, I think. So we appreciate for you to be able to continue to join us. Our next speaker is Ms. Liat from Live and Learn for Environment and Community. She'll be sharing with us some of the experiences on addressing rice straw open burning in Hanoi. Ms. Liat, over to you.
Thank you very much, Claire, and hello everyone. And I think my presentation will be short and focused on case study in Vietnam, particularly from presentation of Dr. Supat. We all can really see different solution, pros and cons of different solutions. First, quickly to introduce myself and my NGOs. We are Live and Learn, a local NGO in Vietnam, and we're working on air pollution in the last 4 years. Right now, we're promoting collective actions, multi-stakeholder partnership and engagement from different stakeholders in Hanoi. We're kind of networking together to bringing clean air to become like a common topic among different groups and talk among researchers, government, business, as well as civic group. We do a lot of awareness raisings because 4 years ago, air pollution is not much known by many people in Hanoi or in Vietnam, and now we talk about air pollution more. I think in 2019, it is the most popular topic in Vietnam when we talk about air pollution. Of course, 2020, we talk about COVID more. And we promote a lot of citizen science with the use of local sensor, satellite, engagement between scientists and committee and policy makers. So make translation of research to be practical with everyone, and people can talk and we can have data to promote evidence-based policy. We test the different committee solution and promote committee linkage among like how to tackle, how to raise awareness, how to address solution for different air pollution causes in Hanoi. And we do a lot of research and advocacy related to environmental monitoring, related to different causes of air pollution. And one of that is open burning. And this is some pictures about the air pollution map in Vietnam that you can see the Hanoi is in one of the most polluted air polluted areas. We have something in the south of Vietnam as well. And this is the map for Hanoi for 2019. You can see the change of air pollution from January to December, and actually right now we are in a very high season of air pollution at the end of the year and at the beginning of every year for Hanoi and the surrounding areas. And one of that causes for air pollution in Hanoi in the last 20 years, with a lot of different study from researchers, we have very complex air pollution source for Hanoi, from transportation, from open burning, from industrial area, from coal-fired power plants station. And right now, World Bank and a group of organization and researchers are working on identify different causes contributing to air pollution in Hanoi. And this is the most recent from one study about different sources of air pollution for Hanoi. This means that not only inside Hanoi, but also from outside. So it's quite complicated to convince people as well as to find some strong measure to address air pollution, because our people with a lot of pressure on air pollution are always like when and how we can improve our air. Rise Charles open burning in Hanoi. It is the capital, but 20% of our land for rice cultivation. We have 2 seasons a year, so that means straw burning will be twice a year, around May and June, and around October and November. And this is some emission inventory from a research group in Hanoi that's supported for the policy recently to develop the policy for Hanoi and to look at the monitoring from the data and how to convince different districts, because normally we have districts when say like, no, we already stopped open burning. This must come from other district, or it must come from province outside Hanoi. But this some data really show to different districts in Hanoi, like we have a serious problem with open burning of rice straws and other agriculture. In Hanoi, the rice straw is the majority of the agriculture open burning. In a recent the surveys run by Vietnam Clean Air Partnership, supported with UNEP, the top reason for open burning, the farmer explained that it makes the field easier to plow. That's something also fit to the traditional belief from Dr. Supat study. It clears the field quickly for planting the next crop. And it can be used for fertilizer, and now because for agriculture it is more about plantation and not like in the past, so there are no ecosystem for recycling locally, and it's very hard to find anyone to collect to buy the straw, so it's so easy and it's so simple to just burn it. That's the top reason for open burning, and we have to look at this reason to trying to find the solution that easier, that more convenient, that save economic, saving time for farmer to change to alternative. And this is the map from emission inventory for rice straw open burning in Hanoi. That's really so about like the percentage of different areas. Some rural area it can be up to 40% of burning. Some have leisure. So this map is kind of like convinced that where we have to tackle the open burning, because we have a lot of rural districts in Hanoi, but this is the map that very clearly to convince about different districts how they have to really look at and monitor their situation. I will not talk much about the impact. That's already explained a lot in Dr. Supat presentation. And this is some study again is convincing people about like biomass burning contributed to air pollution in Hanoi, because people often thinking like it must coming from industrial, it must coming from transportation. Farmer will play a little role in any environmental pollution, but this map showing about like open burning contributes play a role in air pollution, particularly in the season of air pollution for northern part of Vietnam in the late 3 months of every year. Yeah, so again, this is some map that local researcher produced according to the request from the government. So one of the things is that we have to convince and we have to work together with the government to work with the researcher to have evidence and to have data, so later they can really monitoring the situation. And the government very quick also kind of like taking a number of immediate measures to tackle air pollution in Hanoi, like stop open burning of agricultural waste, of solid waste, stop the use of corn cooked behind cook stove, and trying to do something right now also on transportation, as well as to strengthen different environmental monitoring measure and boundary problem as well. But the thing in country like in Vietnam, like when we have the policy come from the top level and with a lot of political will to do and to change something to make it like okay, next year we expect that no place in Hanoi will burn. It's not concerned closely and thoroughly with local farmer, as well as looking at different situation, as well as working with experts. So now we work together closely to get between experts, between government agency from city level to district level and commune level, to look at this target from the government decree, as well as to look at the number of the data from the scientists, as well as to increase awareness about all the air pollution for the farmer. Some solutions that we support different district that's also support to have the local sensor network. So some district in Hanoi also utilize this number to show the difference between commune to commune about like where they have the fire of open burning, as well as satellite image to really show the contribution of different air pollutant. Yeah, and even like this is something like we have a group of local commune district officer together with experts to discuss and take a photo and then discuss with each other about like, here, look, this is some place I just travel and then I saw them burning. So please do something with that. So this is something like, it is increased monitoring from people and from media and from anyone who care about the air pollution to take the photo and put the pressure more. And social media play quite a strong role for government leader, because things discussed on social media and just increase more pressure for the government to take action. So that's some of the environmental monitoring as well as citizen science to support the government in terms of environmental monitoring, in terms of like implementing the policies. And along with us, we do a lot of training and support consultation. On one hand, like a lot of solution, like in the presentation of Dr. Supat, are known, but when we met with farmer, many of them explained that they didn't know about this method or this kind of product. So a lot of training and awareness raising in the field, talking with people, bringing different agriculture business to share about different technology, different solution, different effective microorganisms, for example. So let's so we bring enterprise expert and district and commune together, so them pick up the service as well as the solutions that tailor-made and that's suitable for their place. So in terms of small scale technologies, we share similar methodologies like compost, grow mushroom, animal feeds, use as animal bedding, make a handicraft or a different way of tillage. And the most popular thing is to compost with EM as well as grow mushroom. Particularly with women unions, they promote mushroom farming very successfully. In terms of big scale, it's similar like Thailand, that using different subplotting, using energy to waste, as well as to combine different model. And again, this is required machine and it's also some farming situation in Hanoi and northern Vietnam that it is often small scale farming. So applying technology, applying machine is also not well known to local people. So we trying to show and to introduce different methods and different technologies for district. So the district can invest their money as well as to mobilize from resource from enterprise as well as to share the machine as well as to rent the machine together. So different solutions and different district with different story, and the challenge in the last 2 years for testing and for piloting different methods, we found different obstacles. One thing is about the government is that we have the government very strategic or very committed for like about plastic waste or about solid waste management, but in terms of open burning, it's maybe not the main business in the main economic in Hanoi. So there very weak coordination and no responsible party, like environmental agency taking care about air pollution, but this coming from district leader with agricultural agency, but there are weak links among those agencies. So we lack a clear leadership commitment to show the problem. Such as in case of corn cooking behind, when we're working with some district and they have very strong commitment from government leader, and they influence the whole system from the top to the local level to address and to monitor and to push strong enforcement, and it become very successful. But in case of open burning right choice, it's very difficult to find some strong leader from government agency to take part and to get in charge. So that's one of the issues that we found in terms of the challenge for government coordination. And among many environmental issues, such as solid waste, will be like a very serious environmental issue, but this is not considered as an environmental issue, and then it's not have given priority to mobilize budgets and regulation from the government as well as from the whole system enforcement. That's something difficult with the government agency and for the local people, for the local farmer and community. Similar like Thailand, it's very hard to change the habit of farmer. We have the situation for farming condition in Hanoi, like quite diverse. We have like even like highland, we have lowland, and very small cultivation areas. So it requires even in one commune different solution, and it costs time and it costs money to apply different solution. Local people, they like also alternative and incentive to move. There are no mechanism to like kind of like they expect like they need to have some EM to be distributed to reduce the price or to have discount, and even when we kind of like present them on the calculation about like if they do the composting, it have for the fertile soil and it reduce the cost later to for investment, but it's not strong convincing for the farmer. And one of the things that we can tackle for change is that local people need a lot of training and need to know and to reach out to different good example. Luckily that some example and some solution exist that help us to promote the solution, and this is about the opportunities. With climate change, so actually before talking about air pollutions, agriculture in Vietnam is already addressing this issue about open burning, reduce the carbon emission. So various methods already applied by citizen, by company, by various areas. So it's easy for government or for business or for us to find different solutions to share with community. We don't have to pilot it from the beginning. And local commune district, still there are several community and district. They are very eager to seeking to pilot and adapt different solutions for their areas. Working in Hanoi also have giving us some advantage, like the air pollution become a big concern for Hanoi citizens, and there are some hotspot area like the agriculture, the open burning very near the airport, as well as close to the different national highways, so people can notice and media can report it on newspaper and radio and television, and that can put pressure for the local leader to strengthen their regulation. And so far right now, from all of my presentation, you can see like we have the government, we have the expert scientist community, we have business are willing to work with each other, and we can bring those experts, so expertise to go to different districts and to let people to work together, and that's something can be go, and it's need to maintain in the long run for taking full advantage of these opportunities again to network, to develop, to apply citizen science, to raise awareness, to apply to promote for citizen action, and to building both local and central process in multi-stakeholder engagement. And against this open burning is as well as other problem on cleanness. It is about the strong commitment and applying interdisciplinary approach to engage stakeholders from environmental and non-environmental agency, from business, committee, and government leader to tackle about evolution. Yeah. So that's all for my sharing about the case study in Hanoi, in Vietnam, and I'm happy to learn and to to share and to explain, exchange further with all of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Nuyet. Very interesting presentation, and also I think highlighting some of the importance of citizen science engagement and also public reporting, especially with this burning that's happening of agricultural waste, but also sometimes of municipal solid waste that could be within our own backyards. So I think this is something that's very important for us to highlight as well, the importance of public engagement and citizen action. We received many questions in the chat box. So colleagues, if it's okay with you, we'll extend for just a couple more minutes so that we can ask our speakers to respond to some of the questions that are in the chat box. Dr. Supat, I sent you a chat message, but just in case, appreciate if you could respond to this question. Is the burning of sugarcane and mushroom during harvesting, does it affect the quality of the sugarcane and mushroom? So that's the first question. And second question for you, Dr. Supat, the emission rate, the hotspots from 2015 to 2020 was interesting because the rate is quite low in 2017 and 2018. And one of our colleagues is asking what was the reason for the lower rate in 2017 and 2018. Thank you.
Yes. Actually, the burning of sugarcane will lower the quality of the sugarcane. The amount of sugar will be reduced if the sugarcane is burned. And the other effect is that the burned sugarcane will get spoiled very fast. So if you cut the sugarcane freshly without burning, the sugarcane can last for a longer time. But with the burned sugarcane, it will be spoiled in a couple of days. So the burned sugarcane will have to be transported to the sugar industry as quick as possible. Otherwise, it will get spoiled, and also the sugar content will be reduced. But again, why the farmers still burn? Because it's easier, it cost saving instead of, and actually, as I mentioned, the leaf of the sugarcane is quite sharp. So most of the worker will not be willing to cut the sugarcane with the leaf on the cane. That's the main reason. So what being done is to develop a small machine which will remove the sugarcane leaf. Let me share my screen. Can I share the screen? Maybe can I ask Nuyet to stop sharing the screen so that I can do that. Here, this is the sugarcane being burned before it will be harvested. Most of the leaf at the lower part here can be removed by a smaller machine, and it will be attached to a small tractor, and the tractor will be running between the row of the sugarcane, and the machine will actually remove the leaf here instead of burning, and then the worker can go in and cut the cane manually, and that will be cost saving. The machine is not very expensive. It's been developed by the Ministry of Agriculture. It less than, I think the cost of the machine is less than $1,000 US compared to a bigger machine to cut the sugarcane. That is quite expensive. But in this way, it will be cost saving, and the farmer can afford that. Again, and with regard to the mushroom, this is the wild mushroom that you see here. Is the wild mushroom. Can you see the screen?
Yes, we can see
Right?
it.
This is the why mushroom is very expensive, and it will come out during early of the year. The burning will be before the mushroom will grow in the forest. The farmer believes that by burning the biomass accumulated in the forest, that will stimulate the growth of the mushroom, so that after that they can go in and then collect the mushroom. For this type of mushroom, in the market, it could be more than 1,000 baht for half a kilogram. It's very expensive, but again, it's also very delicious. The record here that you've seen on the question regarding to why in 2017 and 18 here, the burning or hotspot in the northern part is low. Normally it's happened because the burning also depend on in the forest depend on how much biomass accumulated in the forest. During the dry season, all the leaf from the tree or from the plant will go down to the ground. They will get rid of their leaf on the ground and accumulate it. So if there is 1 year that the fire is very strong and it's burned all the deposited biomass in the forest, the next year the burning will be less. And this is what happening, that some year the forest fire or the burning is quite strong, and then they will be followed by maybe 1 or 2 years that the forest fire will be less. And that is the reason why we see, you see 15, the burning is quite strong, and 16, but for 17 and 18 here, the burning is a bit low. Yeah, because all of the biomass accumulated in the forest here already been burned, and there is less accumulated biomass in the forest in the year 2017 and 18. And in that addition to that, it's also depend on the weather. In the year that the weather is quite dry, there will be more burning. And that is the reason why we see different type of hotspot, different number of hotspot. Yeah, I hope that I answer the question.
Thanks, Dr. Supat. Yeah, I think we just received a chat message recognizing that. We have one of our participants, Mr. Marwan, who would like to ask a question, I think from Kuwait. If you could share your just very brief question, because we're already very much extended our time.
Yeah, we are all out of time now. Good afternoon, everyone, and I would like to thank the 3 speakers for their very good presentation. The subject for us in the Middle East, and specifically in the GCC countries, is quite new to us, like burning the agricultural residues. We don't have this problem here in Kuwait, nor in the GCC countries. So my question now to Dr. Shazia from Pakistan and to Dr. Supta, what is the contribution of the burning of agricultural residues like rice, paddy rice, and sugarcane to the overall concentrations of particulate matters in the air during the season of burning these agricultural residues, and also what affects the overall concentration throughout the year? Are there any source apportionment studies which shows that Dr. Shazia said that 33% probably from vehicular pollution is for PM 2.5 in Pakistan? What about the agricultural residue? Is it 40%, 60%?
No, I didn't say that it's 33%. I said that was related to certain diseases that are caused by air pollution. That was the apportionment of deaths.
Okay, yeah.
Air pollution.
Sorry about that. But anyway, before particulate matter, PM 2.5, what is the contribution of the paddy rice or sugarcane burning during the burning season?
Well, I would say it is between 10 to 15% during that season. So as I said, the actual floor levels of air pollution due to industry, due to thermal power generation, due to low quality fuel being used in transport is already at a very high level, at an unhealthy or even very unhealthy level in most South Asian cities. And that includes Pakistan. And then the crop burning pushes it further up by another 10 to 15% during that period. So
is that all? I mean,
well, it's not a matter of is that all, because if it goes from healthy, very unhealthy to hazardous in a concentrated winter period when the winds are also and the low pressure is also created at a certain level, it makes the air very unbreathable and people are falling ill, planes are unable to land, planes are unable to take off.
I'm trying to compare it since it is about seasonal effects, like you have crops burning during 2 seasons. For example, the last speaker gave two seasons, like May and June, and then November and December, okay? 2 months, for example. So we have the same issue in the Middle East. In this country, we have desert storm, we have desert dust originating from the Sahara, for example, and it comes to Kuwait, and the concentration of particulate matters will rise during those days, and the overall concentration of particulate matters throughout the year, daily or annual mean, will be significantly higher. So is it comparable to these effects?
It's not comparable. It's not comparable because you don't control that desert dust. Whereas here, our people can control and come up with alternative solutions to reduce even this 10-15%, which is important. Because if your PM 2.5 and your air quality can improve by 10 to 15% during a certain period, which is, as it is a very high pollution period in the winter, you are contributing to the health benefit of your own people and you have it in your control. You do not have the control over the desert.
Of course, in terms of toxicity of the materials for particulate matters, when you are saying 10 to 15% from burning residue, agricultural residue, you will have polysaccharide carbons, you will have soot, you will have organic contents, like you said. About 50% of the particulate matters, PM 2.5, is organic matters. So we expect to have carcinogen compounds like polysaccharide carbon, like benzoylpyrene. Whereas in our case, in the GCC countries, we have a study with Harvard School of Public Health, and it shows that most of our particulate matters, PM 2.5, indoor and outdoor, is mostly metals like iron, like aluminum and silica, which is from natural crust.
Marwan, sorry, I recognize, of course, the differences in terms of the sources of air pollution in different parts of the world. And definitely, I mean, there have been some studies within our region estimating the contribution of agricultural burning, of how that much PM is increasing during that certain period. And definitely, we can share that information with you via email. And I'm sorry, we now have to close the webinar, unfortunately, but we'll be happy to have some follow-up discussions, of course, over email if needed. So thank you, colleagues. And I see there are some additional chats here sharing some of the source apportionment results for Bangkok. And we can continue these discussions. We continue the Clean Air Solutions webinar series. If there are specific aspects that you would like to have in our next webinar, just please send us a message and we'll try to see if we can accommodate them. And thank you, colleagues. We apologize that we ran over 30 minutes from our original schedule. But we would like to thank Shazia, Dr. Supat, and also Ms. Nguyet for accommodating us and sharing their very rich experiences on open burning, addressing, and also other sources of air pollution transport, as Shazia has kindly shared with us. Also to our colleagues from the Global Alliance on Health and Pollution, thank you for organizing this webinar with us. Thank you, everyone, and have a nice day and evening to all of you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye, Kay.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Thank you.